panel is called Arts and Culture for Hawaii 2.0, and we're really excited to share what's happening in several really important organizations responsible for the advocacy and for the promulgation support of the arts. My name is Aaron Salah. Our first speaker is Eric Johnson, who is the Artistic Director of Honolulu Theater for Youth, where he is honored to work alongside a team of professional theater artists and educators, creating original work for Hawaii students, teachers, and families. His work has been supported by the National Endowment for the Arts, the State Foundation for the Arts, the Princess Grace Foundation, and Theater Communications Group. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Eric Johnson.
So at the center of my job with the company as the artistic director is a professional ensemble of full-time paid creative artists. And they are really the driving force. We do almost 100% new original work about and for children here in Hawaii. And at this time, what's happening in theaters across the country is often theater will keep its core staff, but then let go of all the artists who are freelancers. But our story is a little bit different. Let me just try to advance this. And when COVID happened, we realized that our core community, which are teachers, students, and families, and we, on a typical year, will serve about 120,000 all across the state, we're in crisis. And I think that, you know, it pretty much is universal. Going to kindergarten, as my 5-year-old can attest, on Zoom is a crazy exercise under the best of circumstances. And so instead of backing off from this, we asked ourselves, how can we answer the call? How can we double down and keep our artists on staff and our mission active in this moment and reach out to these families, these teachers, and the community that is suffering in this moment? And, you know, it hasn't been easy, but what we decided to do was, in the absence of being able to do live theatrical events, we turned our attention towards television. And that seemed like somewhat of a stretch because we are makers of live experiences. We are designers, we are theatrical in nature. We create puppets, we create visual art on the stage. And so we knew that whatever we created would have to have those same elements in it. And that maybe that was the thing that we could bring to whatever 2.0 was going to be. Then our first season, we basically responded to COVID in real time. So our first episode was filmed at the theater. The second episode happened in, 1 week later, everything was shut down and we were on cell phones in our apartments. Where the learning curve was super steep, but we were kind of this group of artists was responding in real time to the things that we were all experiencing. So, the episodes became New School Rules, My Birthday Party Was Canceled, I'm So Bored. These are the issues that were impacting young people, the families of Hawaii, and our families, quite frankly. And it was such an honor to be able to do those first 8 episodes. We're now just wrapping filming on our last episode, which is Racism in Hawaii. We're doing 9 more additional episodes. The quality has leapt up considerably from the first 8. And we're taking themes that are kind of Hawaii universal, and then what is the Hawaii specific conversation around those. So ideas like pono, what is balance in your life at this time? And our artistic team creates around that. What is sport in Hawaii? Well, let's look at surfing, take a deep dive into that culturally, historically, reached out to the Bishop Museum, other partners. So how do we keep those conversations relevant and local for our young people? Community partners have been a key to this. Obviously, this is a different way of working. We have been partnering with community members. And that was having those partnerships on hand and having artists who were used to having that dialogue with partners was what allowed us to pivot quickly into this new model. And I think that can't be overestimated. If we were a company like so many others who just used freelance artists to come in and do work, we wouldn't have had that capacity that an ensemble brings, that full-time artists employed here, that are from here, that are of here, that are part of this community can bring to these different conversations. And I think that's one of the things that we're able to offer our partners. So this is what it looks like. Lots of our work has been done on Zoom, creating these smiling faces are local artists doing, working in their passion professionally. And I think that can't be overestimated of what a team like this can give to the community. I think we frankly have surprised ourselves with how we've been able to change and adapt and move into new areas and create something that is new. Obviously, the most important thing that we're creating, which goes for our theater work, but also for this work, are the dreams of young people here. I think it's so important that young people see themselves reflected both in terms of ethnicities and culture and stories. And we're seeing that is a conversation that's happening on the mainland and other places in ways that it has been happening here and certainly at HTY for years. And, but I think, taking on a whole new medium is really empowering. We often on the theater side of things, we thought of theater as like, oh, well, we do intimate things with small audiences. The other is for, these larger mass medium. But what would it mean if we dominated the television market? Is there a place for Indigenous voices in children's programming? Why aren't there more local programs on television? Can we do both? We hope that we can do both. We want to go back to doing live theater, and as soon as we're safe and able to do it.
Our next speaker, who is Jonathan Johnson, who with 32 years of arts administration experience guides the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts in supporting the artistic expressions of Hawaii's diverse cultures and communities, enhancing public engagement in culture and the arts, strengthening arts education for all learners, and enriching the public sphere through the arts. Without further ado then, Mr. Jonathan Johnson.
First is, what's government's role in the arts? Government investments are essential to ensure benefits accrue in every community, including rural, small towns, not just the big cities. So yes, the Indigenous, the underserved, the underrepresented, that's our focus. So government support of culture and arts creativity ensures that all people have access to the arts. That's one of our fundamentals. So we focus on education and underserved, underrepresented. We have statewide reach. It's really the economic and geographic that Hawaii has so much of underserved population. And our focus, yes, is public and charter schools. So in school, out of school, lifelong learning. So what is State Foundation? We are the official state art agency. We're a conduit for funding, federal and state and private. We actually leverage private funding also. So culture, support, foster, and celebrate artistic expressions of Hawaii. And we do that through grants, primarily through grants to schools, grants to organizations, and grants to individuals. Engagement, we spend a lot of time working on outreach, especially to neighbor islands and underserved access. And engagement, we think of it as actually interacting. So how do they engage in the art? No longer is it about just placing the works of art in places, but how then do they engage with that? Education. We do a lot of training of classroom teachers, teaching artists, cultural practitioners. We're working on sending them out into the schools. This is really important that everybody understand that we have community-based decision-making. So we convene groups of intelligent people that are knowledgeable in those fields on all of our grants and acquisitions and awards. And this is actually a call to everybody out there. If you want to participate in making our decisions, absolutely sign up, because we use panel after panel after panel constantly. Every week we're convening panels. And so we have an application process. So that's key, is helping us make those choices. And finally, I'd like to leave you with this one slide here. And it's a narrative, a national narrative we're looking at. Terry and I were on a call the other day, and this actually makes a lot of sense to a lot of people who are involved in distributing funds. So arts and creativity make us stronger as individuals, families, communities, states, and as a country. They're the backbone of innovation, prosperity, and thriving people and places. Public funding for the arts and creativity is a high return investment that benefits every American in every city, town, and rural community nationwide. So the key is creativity and our focus in that direction, rather than specifically to the arts. Because they ask, oh, who golfs, right? Only a few people. Who's an artist? Not that many. But who's creative? Everybody is.
Our next speaker is Dr. Terry Skillman, CEO of the Hawaii Arts Alliance. Terry earned her PhD in ethnomusicology from the University of Hawaii Manoa Music Department and is trained as a musician and dancer. She has worked as an arts administrator, curator, and educator for 30 years. With the Arts Alliance, she is working on community collaborations, building a creative network for artists, arts education initiatives for early learning, and after-school arts programs. Okay, Terry, all yours.
Hawaii Arts Alliance was established in 1980. The Alliance is, like, actually this year is the 40th year. So the focus that we have kind of started shifting to because of COVID is to strengthen our collaborations in the community. So this particular slide shows that arts advocacy is at the center of what we do. And arts advocacy is education. Advocacy is education. So we provide, you can see the service provider to the slate, like the 10 o'clock of the arts advocacy dot there. We provide a lot of implementation, of programs for State Foundation. And work with them and the funding they have for getting artists into the school system. I wanted to focus on our new initiatives, which is in arts education. And that is, right now we're in the process of onboarding as the Wolf Trap affiliate. Wolf Trap is an amazing foundation and program that is located outside of DC. In the only national arts park that the USA has. And they have an amazing program that is focused on strategies of how to get arts integration into all subject matter in the schools. As you can see here, they're global. And they fit really well in Hawaii. They've been coming with their master teachers for over 5 years. And we look forward to trying to grow that early learning program, since the state and the city and county are making an initiative to have more early learning centers in schools. We hope that we can get our foot in the door and get arts integrated into those classrooms. The next thing that we are doing is placemaking. We have a National Endowment for the Arts grant. And Terry Liu, who is our former interim CEO for Arts Alliance, is on Kauai, and he's implementing our town grant in Lihue. They're at the Cress building, if anyone is familiar with that, on the corner of Cress and Rice Streets. And it is to try to create a arts center for Lihue. It's being funded, as I mentioned, by NEA, but also local businesses are on board, as well as the mayor and the county of Kauai. The next area that I want to highlight is some of the fiscal sponsorships that the Hawaii Arts Alliance is involved in. We have been a fiscal sponsor for Powwow Hawaii, for all those amazing murals that get done every February down in Kaka'ako. And we also have a challenge grant program for the Performing Arts Learning Centers. There are 11 Performing Arts Learning Centers statewide. The newest one is on the island of Lanai this last year. And they provide after-school programming for kids. They teach them stagecraft. They have acting, singing, I mean, you name it. Anything that happens on stage, these kids get to be part of this training at each of these learning centers. So that, that's one of the important programs that we help support. The next one that I want to highlight is we have just this year signed a memorandum of understanding with Hawaii Contemporary. And Hawaii Contemporary started out as a Honolulu Biennial in 2017 and 2019. They are shifting to a triennial now, and they have renamed themselves as the Hawaii Contemporary. So in conjunction or in collaboration with them, right now there's professional development program for artists, and it is pretty much focused on visual artists. And it's an amazing series that goes through November 18th that helps artists become more familiar with how to get your artwork into, you know, different gallery spaces, whether it's local or national or international, and helping give them, you know, the tools and skills to manage that shift. So hopefully, please do take a look at the Hawaii Contemporary website, because they have an amazing program, and that'll give you a lot more detail. That segues into a project that we started last fall. And it was timely because as we all know, COVID has impacted the creative sector just immeasurably in Hawaii. We've had artists contacting us from other islands saying, I didn't qualify for PUA, I wasn't able to get unemployment, what do I do? So the Creative Artists Network, we're trying to grow it so that we can support artists. We're trying to come up with funding that could be micro grants. Also, this ties in with a group that I've been meeting with on a regular basis called Creative Resurgence. And they have been pulling together some micro grants that will be rolling out to help individual artists. They're trying to still figure out exactly how that will happen. And so we'll put out the announcement as soon as we know what the decision and mechanism will be. But the Creative Artists Network is intended to be a referral platform for artists, a way to provide resources and benefits for them, and also to help artists learn about each other and to collaborate across medium or across islands, and to give, you know, workshops like what we are doing with the Hawaii Contemporary.
So I'm excited to introduce to you all Professor Vili Herenico of the Academy for Creative Media at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, as well as a playwright, screenwriter, stage and film director. Vili's plays and films have played all over Oceania, including Hawaii, but also all over the world: England, Scotland, Norway, Belgium, Copenhagen, and Russia. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Vilsoni Herenico.
Teach at the Academy for Creative Media. And so I will talk a little bit about the Creative Media program, but also I am very much a practicing artist. I was involved with plays and the stage, and then I transitioned to film. And most recently, I became very interested in weaving. And so I want to talk a little bit about that and the importance of, I guess, pivoting and adjusting to the situation that you might find yourself in. So if there's anyone who is an artist out there listening, I hope that this might be an inspiration for you too. Because of the time constraints, I want to talk about 5 points that I think is important for us to think about and to reflect upon, and I call it ADEMS. And what is the A? The A is to accept the reality. We all know that the pandemic has upended all our lives. And this is something that I think is very important for us to accept it rather than fight against it or to be depressed about it, but to think about in very simple terms how we can take a lemon, let's say, and make lemonade. And that is of great interest to me. Secondly, the D is for digital technology or economy. I think the pandemic has made clear to us that we need to come to terms with the digital technology, the use of the computer, the use of digital mediums in order to see how we might deploy them to enhance our art. My students at the Academy for Creative Media, they're making movies as we speak. I teach the capstone production course. There are 3 film projects, enormous constraints regarding safety on set and so on and so forth. And yet these students, against all odds, are making their films. They're going to finish them by the end of the year. And they will have their movies as though there was never a pandemic. Many schools on the mainland, including USC, are not allowing their students to make films because of the pandemic crisis. Yet here in Hawaii, thanks to our visionary chair of the department and the faculty, we are making everything possible to facilitate our students forging ahead with their own creative work. Recently, about a week ago, I wove a coconut basket that was, I submitted to this Craftsman annual statewide exhibition. And to my surprise, I might say, it was chosen. But the pandemic allowed me to move into weaving.
Hawaii Arts Alliance has worked with the Downtown Arts Center, which has recently opened up. And we submitted an application for an Our Town project in the downtown Chinatown area. We got support from JJ with State Foundation, as well as the Mayor's Office and the Department of Planning. We're hoping that we're crossing our fingers that it gets funded and it would start next summer.
I just want to say thank you all very much. And thank you to Eric Johnson, Jonathan Johnson, Terry Skillman, and Vili Heranico for allowing me to moderate this panel.